What up, YouTube Live? This is Rama Screen covering movies, TV, and entertainment. Uh, I thought I'd just do a live stream session just for this segment. I want to share with you my thoughts about one of the big news that happened today. Um, Aside from unfortunately we lost David Cassidy, may he rest in peace. David Cassidy passed away, but also the other big news. Man, it's so what's the word I'm looking for here? Such a huge letdown, man. Especially if you are Disney and Pixar fans, if you are fans of animation in general, this news is just such a huge letdown. Like you've been so disappointed now. And the news is that John Lasseter, the legendary John Lasseter, the chief. Let me get the title correct here. The title of his job, the chief creative officer of both Disney Animation and Pixar Animation. The guy heads both. He has announced that he's stepping down. No, not stepping down. He's taking a leave of absence. There you go. So he's not resigning. I don't know why. He's taking a leave of absence for 6 months. Yes, 6 months. Um, because of accusations that he committed sexual misconduct and he had been disrespecting his employees, especially the female employees. So when I saw this news, I was like, no, not you too, John Lasseter. As you know, by that I mean there had been this tidal waves or tsunami, or I guess you could also describe it as domino effect ever since the Harvey Weinstein scandal, where lots of influential, powerful people also get outed for their sexual misconducts and sexual harassments. And rightfully so. I encourage the victims to speak out. So it's a good thing that we have this sort of purging to weed the bad guys out. But at the same time, you just find you find some of these news shocking because it can involve some of your heroes, and I'll talk about that further later. Let's see. Let me read to you the article here or the report by Variety, and then I'll go to the Hollywood Reporter. It says here that John Lasseter, the head of Pixar and Walt Disney Animation Studios, one of the most powerful figures in the entertainment industry, and he still is, acknowledged that he had crossed the line with employees. So he is taking a 6 month leave of absence. Um, he also, yeah, released a statement here. I don't want to read the whole thing. You can read them online. But let me just read the excerpts. Quote, I have always wanted our animation studios to be places where creators can explore their vision with the support and collaboration of our gifted animators and storytellers. Da, 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 da. Okay. This kind of creative culture takes constant vigilance to maintain. It is built on trust and respect, and it becomes fragile if any members of the team don't feel valued. As a leader, it's my responsibility to ensure that doesn't happen, and now I believe I have been falling short in this regard. And then the last paragraph, he's crediting his team, and he believes that his team can still continue to wow the world in his absence. And he also greeted holiday greetings for some reason. So 6 months. So you might be asking, Rama, what exactly did he do? Did he expose his junk? Did he masturbate in front of female employees? Because that's the first thing that came to my mind at first. Oh my God, what did John Lasseter do? Did he pull a Brett Ratner? Because that's what Brett Ratner did. Brett Ratner is a disgusting person. But what's the extent of uh, John Lasseter's, well, I don't want to say crime, but misconduct. There you go. What's the extent of his misconduct? Well, the Hollywood Reporter said, let's see here. One witness account said that uh, unwanted huggings. Unwanted huggings. Oh, okay. Grabbing, kissing, making comments about physical attributes. Multiple sources said that Lasseter has been known to be drinking heavily at company social events, such as premiere parties. And because of his heavy drinking, he started also behaving badly under the influence of alcohol. Um, oh, there's one I read earlier. Oh, apparently there's this woman that was seated next to Lasseter in a meeting, and Lasseter, to cut the story short, Lasseter pretty much put his hand on her knee and kind of moved it around, on the area. I was like, holy crap. Another uh, another employee said that, unwanted huggings again, invading the space, personal space. By the way, I said unwanted hugging because that was probably the headline that was used when this first broke out earlier today. John Lasseter took a leave of absence due to unwanted huggings. And one a former Pixar employee said, "That's ridiculous. You can't, to sum this up," and I quote, "to sum this up as unwanted hugs is belittling and demeaning. If it was just unwanted hugs, he would not be stepping down." Well, correction there, former Pixar employee. He's not really stepping down. He's just taking hiatus. I wish he was stepping down. That's why I said earlier, like, I don't know why he's not stepping down. But what this Pixar employee said is implying is that, hey, it's more, or it's worse than just unwanted hugs. To describe it as just unwanted hugs is an insult to what actually happened. So it's heartbreaking and disheartening for us Disney fans. I've been a Disney fan for years now. And so if you, again, as I said earlier, if you're not familiar with the animation world or Disney and Pixar, you may not recognize the name John Lasseter. But if you are movie fans, TV fans, animation fans, then John Lasseter is like this, this big figure. He's basically the face of Walt Disney and Pixar animation. He's like the Steve Jobs of those two places, how Steve Jobs was for Apple. So I believe Disney acquired Pixar back in 2006, if I may not. Yeah, I think 2006. And I, for one, have not met John Lasseter in person. Of course, I've gone to panels and junkets where he's up there. I remember he gave an award to Hayao Miyazaki, right, deservedly so. Miyazaki is a master. And Lasseter, I think, won one Oscar for a short film, so he didn't win it for any of the movies, Pixar movies. But he's famous for Toy Story, of course. Oh, before I get to my thoughts, here it is also. I'm gonna read this to you. Toy Story 4. Alright, Toy Story 4 was initially going to be directed by John Lasseter, but then that was not the case anymore. And then it was originally scripted by Rashida Jones and Will McCormack. Rashida Jones, of course, as you know, is also a very successful actress. So Rashida and her writing partner, Will McCormack, have been working for years. And they started writing on Toy Story 4. And it says here on the Hollywood Reporter that they didn't give any details. Unfortunately, they did not give any details. Or maybe that's a fortunate thing. But they claim, or the report stated or suggested, that John Lasseter may have done something to Rashida Jones that resulted in Rashida Jones and Will McCormack leaving the project Toy Story 4. So, but we don't know what that is. It only says to be, or it's only described as unwanted advance. What that unwanted advance is specifically, we will never know unless Rashida Jones um, or her rep gives a statement or gives out a statement specifying or disclosing that unwanted advance. So yeah, man, when I read all these accounts, I'm like, okay, okay. So I made a note here. Again, if you've been Disney and Pixar fans as long as I have or any of us have, you would know that Lasseter, John Lasseter, is the go-to guy. He's the Godfather, and by that I mean, for example, I was at the Olaf's Frozen Adventure event not too long ago, and the filmmakers of that short film, Olaf's Frozen Adventure, there were two people. It's a two people team. They said to us, the press, that they were combing possible, potential, different, several stories, in the development stage for Olaf's Frozen Adventure. So there were many possible ideas, but John Lasseter told them, and I'm paraphrasing this, that for them to pick out the one that has the emotional impact. And so they credit that to John Lasseter, and that's not the first time I've heard of this, because of course, being the chief creative officer, one of the things that John Lasseter does in the company or both studios is that he helps pick out projects that would be greenlit or that would move forward. There's another story I heard about how he is choosing which short film that will play in front of a Pixar movie, the next Pixar movie. And so, the guy whose film was chosen, he said, I got chosen because, John Lasseter was looking for a story that would strike a chord emotionally. And they always credit that to him. So if there's a Pixar movie that is emotional or really gets you right here, they always said, whoever the filmmakers, they always say, it's John Lasseter, man. Thanks to John Lasseter. He has the eye for this kind of thing. Oh, my battery's running out. Give me a second here. So, what I'm trying to say with that is I'm trying to point out, I guess, John Lasseter's skill. That is not to say, I mean, it's that, like my friend Mike Lee said, it's that art versus artist. Just like how I look up to Kevin Spacey, as a performer. Kevin Spacey is a great actor, but you have that persona, and then you have the actual person, the actual personality, the actual character. So you have to be able to divide the two. I think it's okay to be upset finding out that your heroes turn out to be monsters. I think it's okay to have that moment where you can come to terms with the facts. Because yeah, man, like I said earlier, I was just disappointed, shocked, and just, I don't know. As a fan, you also feel kind of betrayed, but it's like one of those where you have the person you see on the panel or on the stage at the junkets, but you don't really get to know the actual person. You know what I'm saying? Till you become close with them, and in this case, close as in the work proximity, working place close. So it's okay to be upset that that Louis C.K., one of the funniest people alive, turned out to be predators. Come to terms with that, but eventually you'll have to accept the fact that they're not gods, they're not deities, and you kind of wonder now what this means for Disney and Pixar. Well, let's see. For number one, I wonder what will happen to Toy Story 4. I know I think he gets story credit. I don't know if he gets scripting credit. So we'll see whether or not Pixar would remove his name from the project. But the thing is, I don't want to, defend John Lasseter, but is his misconduct as worse or as bad as Harvey Weinstein? Whereas, Harvey Weinstein, every credit, every award, well, except for his Oscar, all his guild membership, got stripped away from him. He got fired left and right from, whatever association. Is that what's going to happen to John Lasseter, especially with his name on the credit for Toy Story 4? We don't know. What else? What this means for Disney and Pixar. Now that John Lasseter is taking a 6-month leave, I guess who's the chief creative officer? Who's deciding which projects to move forward or to be greenlit? Who are the filmmakers going to credit now for the emotions of the story? I'm guessing from this point forward, the filmmakers and animators in Pixar and Disney will be distancing themselves, rightfully so, understandably so, and they'll be like, yeah, I come up with that part, not John Lasseter. The other thing that this could mean for Disney and Pixar is that the press junkets and the events and the premieres from this point forward, Disney and Pixar's premieres and press junkets will be somewhat potentially awkward, because you just know that there will be one or two press that would dare ask Lasseter related questions to the talents, either up on the panel or on the red carpet. So my theory is that to prevent that from happening, Disney and Pixar might become more selective, or they become more controlling about their events and press junkets. They would screen the questions before the questions are asked. They would even become more selective as to which press that they would let into their events, because if a question comes up during an event about Wreck-It Ralph 2, for example, it's a Wreck-It Ralph 2 press junket. You're supposed to talk about the movie, promote the movie, hype up the movie, but then there's that one press that brings up that personal question. Then yeah, it'll be like it'll be tough for the talents up there to dodge it, or they could just say no comment. It'll be even tougher on the red carpet, with a microphone in front of you. So those are some of the things that this could mean for Disney and Pixar. Fortunately for them, D23 just happened this year, a few months ago, and I think, yeah, it's every other year, so they won't have one again until 2019. So usually John Lasseter would come up on the stage, man, and pretty much present, gloriously, glamorously present, this is our lineup for the next few years. How awesome are we? We don't know who that person will be now at the next D23. So do I think that Disney and Pixar should totally, completely let John Lasseter go and fire him? I don't know. If they did, it would not surprise me. But I don't know. It depends on the investigation. But it seems like all the accusations are all credible. Now the bigger question is, will folks like John Lasseter, Kevin Spacey, Louis C.K., Harvey Weinstein, will these guys be forgiven years later from now? Because remember, Mel Gibson, after that anti-Semitic rant that he did, I think in 2006, I believe, it took years for him to come back to the loving, graceful arms of Hollywood. I think it even took Robert Downey Jr. to go up to the stage. I think at the Cinematheque Award, where Robert Downey Jr. pleaded, he practically begged Hollywood to forgive his good friend Mel Gibson. Um, and then of course Hacksaw Ridge came along, and now he's a great Oscar director again. Will that happen? Will that happen to Lasseter? Will that happen to Russell Simmons, by the way, who also I looked up to, now I'm disappointed in as well? Will that happen to Weinstein? Or are we in a time and age when it seems that Hollywood is not as easily forgiving as it once was? Maybe this is the line drawn on the sand? I don't know. I don't know. That's it. Those are my thoughts about John Lasseter scandal. It's very disheartening, very disappointing. As a Disney fan, I feel like, oh man, but as a human being, I totally get that these guys are not gods, these guys are not deities. When you have power and influence, sometimes there comes also the temptation to misuse or to abuse that power. And unfortunately, it has happened to now a figure that is supposed to be near and dear to our hearts, fans of animation. So, Lasseter, you've let us down, man. You have let us down. All right, share your thoughts about this issue in the comment section below. And please subscribe to my channel. And if you like my channel, if you like all the videos here, because I do red carpet interviews, I do reviews, I do editorial, I do fellow geeks interviews. I'm pretty busy full time. So please support me if you can. $1 or $2 per month. Every little help helps. Go to patreon.com/ramascreen. Again, that's patreon.com/ramascreen and become my patrons today. Let's rock this.